Welcome back to the Bulls franchise, everybody. We've got a lot to cover in today's episode. Our Bulls just finished off their regular season in the last episode, and today we are going to be recapping the season and previewing the offseason, and also finishing up the NBA playoffs. But before we even get into any of that, we have one last scouting update. We'll see what happened in March Madness and also preview some of the international prospects. Later this episode, I'll let you guys know how I'm feeling about the draft and which prospects I want to target. And that'll be much easier to do after we get through the draft lottery and see where our pick ends up. But for now, let's get into the scouting. Let's start off by overviewing the biggest stories from the round of 64 and 32. March Madness would not be complete without early shockers and Cinderella runs. The latest iteration provided both. In the second round, number 9 seeded Davidson, led by Donnie Trice, provided arguably the biggest upset of the tournament, eliminating Javon Boston and the West's number 1 seeded USC Trojans 76-74. Boston struggled, scoring just 13 points on 5 of 17 shooting, while Trice caught fire with 32 points. The win sets Davidson up for a Sweet 16 matchup with Daniel Stuckey in Alabama. Not to be outdone, Delaware is embarking on a Cinderella run of their own. The number 13 seeded Blue Hens, led by big man Cody Singleton, took down number 5 ranked Iowa State and projected lottery pick Gianni Giddens. And then they downed number 4 Creighton and Reese Freeman. Giddens declared for the NBA draft shortly after the game, while Freeman announced he would return for his senior season with the Blue Jays. Delaware gets a Sweet 16 date with Kentucky, the top seed in the South region, who stomped through the opening rounds, winning by 28 and 13 points in their first 2 games. In the Midwest region, Washington, led by the deadly pick-and-roll duo of Jackson Cowan and Ruben Santana, both currently projected to be late first-round picks, join Kentucky as the only other number 1 seed to advance, and will get Pac-12 foe and number 12 seed Utah in the Sweet 16. Led by their lockdown wing defender Justin Medina, the Utes have already upset one Pac-12 opponent, beating number 5 Arizona in the opening round. They followed that up with a thrilling 67-65 win over Louisville and Cole Herringody. Herringody was far from contained though, scoring 24 points for the Cardinals in a losing effort. The East region has been nothing short of chaotic, as 8-seeded Miami, led by guard Damian Pack, delivered an 81-65 blowout to top-ranked Kansas. Guard DJ Outlaw finished with just 4 points, while big man Nigel Powers fouled out in 12 minutes of action. Pack, meanwhile, scored 31 points with 8 assists. Miami is greeted by Florida State in the Sweet 16. But Kansas wasn't the only disappointment. Number 3 Ohio State met an early 77-61 demise at the hands of number 6 Iowa in round 2. Third-year guard Ira Mack and the Hawkeyes harassed number 1 pick hopeful Cavante Kennard all night, sending doubles and exposing his limited passing ability. Kennard turned it over 5 times and only managed an 11-point, 4 of 11 field goal performance, while Mack scored 20 to lead his team to a Sweet 16 berth against another Big Ten foe in number 2 Michigan. Starting off the Sweet 16, the Fightin' Blue Hens almost toppled Kentucky, but their run ends in an 81-76 loss. Kentucky's Baron Hunter led the way with 27 points and 8 rebounds, but 17 points and 13 boards from Cody Singleton helped the Hens almost pull the upset. Number 3 UCLA defeated number 7 Michigan State 63-54. Mikal Dillon scored 18 for the Bruins, while Spartans guard Zaire Marble ended with 15 points and 6 assists. Washington advances once more with their eyes set on a title. They defeated Utah 87-67 off of an efficient 19-point, 8-assist night from Jackson Cowan. In a rematch of the ACC title game, Notre Dame's Jalen House again impressed, scoring 25 points with 3 steals in the dramatic 76-74 win over Duke. David Sebick had 19 points for the Blue Devils. Damian Pack continues his dominant run, scoring 23 for the Hurricanes, who eliminate Isaiah Quinn and ACC foe Florida State 92-81. Iowa played Michigan tough as they have all year long, but Wolverines guard Jamez Napier was unstoppable in this 81-77 win. He went for 31 points on 6 threes to squeak by an Iowa team that got a 22.7 assist performance from Ira Mack. Mack announced he'll stay for his senior year to settle unfinished business in Iowa City, even though he already looks like an NBA talent. Another big night from Donnie Trice is not enough for Davidson, as they fell to Alabama 87-83. Davidson's 10-2 run in the game's final 2 minutes was not enough to rally all the way back against Daniel Stuckey, who scored 16. And to round it out, the North Carolina Tar Heels march on thanks to 24 points from Artavis Carney. They defeated the SEC champion Georgia Bulldogs 67-53. Lamont Appling only mustered 14 points, but he still enters the draft as one of the country's most prolific volume scorers. We move on now to the Elite Eight, and despite a poor shooting night from Baron Hunter, Kentucky advances past UCLA 85-77 thanks to 25 points from Brody Walls. UCLA is led by Casey Reynolds, who wins with 18 points and 7 rebounds. The depth of Washington proved to be too much for Notre Dame, as Ruben Santana dominates with 19 points and 9 rebounds, while Jackson Cowan helps hold Jalen House in check, keeping him to 13 points on 3 of 15 shooting. Washington won this one 89-71 to advance to the Final Four. The Pack rolls on as Damian Pack has 21 points, 4 assists, and 3 steals, and the Hurricanes down Jamez Napier and the Wolverines 75-72. It was a high-profile guard matchup among two players who many expect to go in the lottery. Napier leads Michigan with 24 points. But Damian Pack is officially the story of this tournament. His sustained dominance has led 8th-seeded Miami to the Final Four. The Canes' opponent will be the Tar Heels, who cruised past Alabama 86-67. Artavis Carney again impresses, this time with 21 points and 9 boards for the Tar Heels. We finally made it to the Final Four. The road to San Antonio ends here. It was the battle of the 1 seeds between Kentucky and Washington. Baron Hunter rebounded from a poor showing in the Elite Eight to score 19 with 9 rebounds, just enough to lead Kentucky over the two-headed monster of Jackson Cowan and Ruben Santana, 75-71. Santana struggled mightily against Hunter, scoring only 7 points, while Cowan scored a team-high 23. They will be met in the championship game by Miami. March Madness might as well be Pack Madness. Damian Pack scores 33 as Miami goes on a 12-0 run to rally back and shock the Tar Heels. Pack buried 3 triples in the game's final 2 minutes to lift Miami to the title game. Artavis Carney scored 28. But this sets up an 8 seed versus 1 seed in the final. Miami versus Kentucky for all the marbles. The Miami Hurricanes become just the second 8 seed in NCAA men's basketball history to claim a national tournament, upsetting top-seeded Kentucky 75-73, thanks to the heroics of Damian Pack. After scoring performances of 23, 21, and 33 earlier this tournament, the Hurricanes guard capped his incredible march off with 27 points and 4 three-pointers. None bigger than this one. That shot's gonna go down in history as one of the greatest of all time, maybe even as great as that classic Chris Jenkins game winner for Villanova. But Damian Pack with an all-time great March Madness run, and this is coming after a regular season that was really interesting. He wasn't even a consistent three-point shooter for most of the season. He only shot 28.4%. Even more interestingly than that, he led the ACC in turnovers per game with 4.2. Now, he did get a ton of steals with 3 per game and 1.1 blocks. So that almost makes up for the turnovers he committed, but he's a very high-risk, high-reward playmaker. This guy reminds me a lot of Russell Westbrook, who of course was never a shooter, but he's hit some pretty clutch three-pointers in his career. I think a lot of teams are going to want a player like Pack. The scouting report has him ranked as the number 11 player in the draft, but I think with the incredible leaps he's taken in March, I think he's played himself into the top 10, maybe even knocking on the door of the top 5. A 6'6" athletic, playmaking, clutch combo guard? Yeah, sign me up. With college basketball over and the NBA playoffs underway, that also means the EuroLeague is wrapping up and the international prospects are starting to solidify themselves. Let's take a look at the top foreign player in this year's draft. Baby Luka Doncic, Andre Lorbek. Many front office executives wish they could travel back in time and leverage themselves to select a young Slovenian guard who took home MVP honors at just the age of 17. Several franchises opted to pass on Luka Doncic, as he was unproven against U.S. competition, and look back many years later realizing they made a huge oversight on his talent level. Generally, franchises don't receive the option to remedy these mistakes, as players of Luka's caliber only come around once a generation. However, many scouts say Andre Lorbek is as close as a copy you can get without getting a sample of Doncic's own DNA. Lorbek followed in Doncic's footsteps by starring for Real Madrid as a teenager and would eventually eclipse Luka in EuroLeague championships, winning back-to-back titles. Lorbek was a key contributor for the club's championship run and capped his EuroLeague career off with being awarded ACB MVP honors. Lorbek to Luka is what Kobe was to MJ, said one Eastern Conference scout. Lorbek's high basketball IQ and elite floor general ability mixed with his 6'8" frame is why he is my #1 prospect in this year's draft, said one NBA draft analyst. After seeing Luka fall in the draft, I expect franchises to wise up and not let history repeat itself with Andre Lorbek. Now, me personally, I was sold on Luka from day one. I thought he should have been the #1 prospect all the way, and I don't know if Lorbek is quite that generational. He does struggle with shooting efficiency, although the potential is there. His percentages are lower than Luka's were in the EuroLeague, and he also commits more turnovers. So I think he might take a little bit more time to develop than Luka, because Luka was a superstar from the get-go. But he's still a really fascinating project, and I would be happy to take it on. Outside of Lorbek, there are 5 other first-round caliber international players, starting with Mace Gadzuric, who I like to call the dishing Dutchman. Shout out Rick Smits. But this is a center power forward who can put the ball on the floor, find the open man, and also knock down the 3 pretty dang good. The main downside is his defense, and also the fact that he struggles to stay on the court due to a lack of stamina and also a propensity for fouling. Still a very intriguing prospect that I think should definitely go in the lottery. I think he's pretty clearly the second best center in the draft behind Kevonte Kennard. The next guy on the list is the biggest player in NBA history right off the bat, Ikat Loukas from Greece. And look at this guy's stats. In 17 games, 18.4 minutes a night, he averaged a 15-point double-double with 3.5 blocks on 76% shooting. I think it's safe to say no one in Greece was able to hang with him. I think I'm going to start calling him the Cyclops from now on, for obvious reasons. But obviously with guys this size and weight, you get some very clear limitations. He's immediately going to be the least athletic player in the entire league, with very low stamina and also an injury risk. He's also coming in as a very old rookie at 23. So prospects like this are definitely fun, but they have a very clear ceiling. Maybe he can become a better version of Boban, though. There's a few more prospects toward the bottom of the first round, and Aaron Larson is one of them, a 6'7" guard from France. The offensive talent is there. It's pretty clear he's not going to be Killian Hayes. Rebounds and defends really well for his position as well. The problem with him is that he floats around the perimeter too much and doesn't attack the basket very well. So maybe not someone you can trust as a #1 scoring option, but could be a really solid complementary player. Branko Todorovic definitely has a chance to be taken higher than 24 just based off of his unique skill set. A 6'9" forward who can handle and pass. Has some athletic burst that he uses on the offensive and defensive ends. Struggles with shooting, turnovers, and getting bullied around with his thin frame. That very much reminds me of Scotty Barnes. And this is definitely someone I'm targeting with our late first round pick. And lastly, we have Azuolas Jasevicius from Lithuania. This is a 6'3" pure point guard who just makes the right play. Has an astounding assist-to-turnover ratio at 6.5 to 0.4. Very good shooting efficiency as well. So back at the NBA level, only 8 teams remain in the quest for the 2025 championship. It was quite an eventful first round as we saw the 8-seed Spurs upset the 1-seeded Warriors. But perhaps even crazier was the Knicks comeback from down 3-0 to beat the Hawks. And speaking of the Hawks, they are letting go of their head coach Quinn Snyder after the epic collapse. Did he deserve to get fired? I don't know. But the bottom line is, no one in NBA history has choked that badly, and desperate times call for desperate measures. Snyder's still one of the highest rated coaches in the game, so he'll definitely have teams calling in the offseason. But that leads us into the second round, and in Game 1, the Knicks' magic finally runs out, as they lose by 21 to Darius Garland and the Cavs. Garland is still keeping up an incredible scoring pace. This is looking like one of the greatest individual scoring stretches in history, and he's been doing everything he can to fill in for the injured Donovan Mitchell. But starting in Game 2 of this series, he won't have to do that anymore. Mitchell still has a 2-week timetable on his pulled calf, but he's going to try to gut it out. And as a result, his rating is going to suffer. All of his shooting attributes have decreased by 5 for the remainder of the playoffs. Game 2 looks like a much tighter finish. Knicks down 2 with a minute to go, and RJ Barrett takes the lead. A chance to extend it now. Julius Randle in the post. Hook shot. Money. 3-point game. Cavs call timeout. 6.6 to go. Missed free throw from Barrett. Cavs can tie it. Donovan Mitchell. No good. It hung on the rim. And New York ties it at 1 apiece. Mitchell scores 23 in his first game back. And it's crazy to say this, but 39 is the least points that Garland has scored in a game so far this playoffs. Game 3 in New York City looks like another close one. Brunson to the hole to cut it to 1. He's got 48 points. Donovan Mitchell, cold-blooded three-pointer over the outstretched arm of Mitch Robinson. Josh Hart cuts it back to 1. But now, the Knicks need a 3 to tie. They give it to Brunson. Three-pointer misses. And the Cavs retake the series lead. And what do you know, it's another Darius Garland masterpiece, 46 tonight. And he narrowly outduels Jalen Brunson, who had an incredible performance himself. Knicks tie it back up in Game 4. And Cleveland wins the pivotal Game 5, but this time it was Mitchell who went off. And the Knicks just run out of gas. There's no stopping this Cleveland backcourt. Cavs win big time, and they advance to the East Finals for the second straight year. They will either face Boston or Milwaukee, and the Bucks come out on top in Game 1, and make that 2 convincing home victories to open the series for the Bucks. And they end up finishing off the defending champs in 5 games. All 3 Texas teams made the Western Conference semis, and 2 of them square off here. It's Spurs versus Mavs. Wemby, Keldon, and the Spurs are showing they're more than just a one-series wonder, as they beat the Mavs in Dallas in Game 1. And fast forward to Game 4, the Spurs are up 3-1. Keldon Johnson and Victor Wembanyama have been marvelous, but they'll have to deal with the loss of Nicholas Claxton for the remainder of the playoff run. Normally, the loss of a starting center would be devastating for a team, especially one as good as Claxton, but for the Spurs, it just clears the way for Wemby to play his natural position, which is center. And they aren't able to do very much on offense in Game 5, losing by 20. And the Mavs' scoring leader was not Kyrie, not Luka, but Jaden Hardy. But the Spurs return to form in Game 6, finishing the Mavs off with another dominant win. This Spurs team is for real. Could we potentially see an 8 seed win the finals both in college and in the NBA? They will face the winner of Houston-Memphis in the Western Conference Finals. Another Game 1 nail-biter. Jabari Smith the steal, Jalen Green with the score. 3-point lead for Houston in the FedEx Forum. The Grizzlies made the finals last year, hoping to make it back. Ja Morant gets to the rim, hits the floater. Still down. Finds Marcus Smart in the corner. Open three is good. Ties the game. Can Jalen Green win it here? Pulls up for three. It's off. And we're going to OT in game one. Here's Alperen Sengun. He had a great series against the Blazers. He hits the fadeaway over Ja. Ja tried to dunk on him in retaliation, but he missed it. Jabari Smith spins and scores. The wrong foot layup. Beautiful stuff. Jalen Green extends. The Rockets lead to 6. Morant turns it over. Everything going the Rockets' way. Amen Thompson with the hoop and the harm. This looks like it's getting out of the Grizzlies' hands. JG adds insult to injury. This one's over. The Rockets' young core could be knocking on the door of greatness. They looked really good in this one. Sengun, Green, and Smith all scored 20 plus, while Thompson had 15 and 14. And it's got to be disheartening if you're Ja Morant when your 43-point triple-double in 49 minutes isn't enough to get the win. Well, let's see if the Grizzlies can right the ship in Game 2. Rockets playing them tough again. Steven Adams with a big-time rejection. They need another stop. And Jalen Green is sent to the free throw line. Makes this a 3-point game. Marcus Smart for the tie! Buries the triple. He's made clutch shot after clutch shot ever since he joined the Grizzlies. Deja vu from game 1. Green with a chance to win it. And it's going to overtime again. It's a much lower scoring game this time though. Thompson goes up high for the lob. Nice assist from Dylan Brooks there. Morant climbs the ladder on Jabari Smith. That was nasty. Now he fires the off-balance 3, and it's good. Grizzlies in the lead. They're up by 4. Morant. Oh! That's a man's jam. These two teams have some high-flying athletes. How about Jalen Green? This overtime period has been a dunk fest. Marcus Smart. That looks like the dagger. And we might have a really good series on our hands. The Rockets dominate in Game 3, holding the Grizzlies to only 9 points in the second quarter. And it looks like Steven Adams is done for the year with a torn hamstring. At least the Grizzlies have a boatload of depth at the center position. The Jakob Poeltl trade's coming in handy right about now. Let's just take a moment to appreciate the true breakout of Alperen Sengun. He's been consistently excellent, and he's improved almost all of his averages from the regular season, including efficiency. Jaren Jackson Jr. explodes for 37 points, leading the Grizz to a victory in Game 4, but the Rockets retaliate in Game 5. Both teams have been trading wins, and the trend continues. Grizzlies force Game 7. Can Memphis close it out on their home court? Marcus Smart gets the floater to go, and it's an 8-0 start for Memphis. And they're up 8 still, late in this game. Second chance opportunity, Nikola Vucevic delivers to make it 11. Under 4 minutes to go. Jalen Green, tough and 1. Rockets trying to get back in it. Green spins right, and he's blocked by Jackson. Jackson contests the 3. He is just everywhere on defense, and he scores on the other end. Green blocked again by Jackson. He has taken over down the stretch, and the Grizzlies win by 16 to advance. Memphis versus San Antonio in the West, Cleveland, Milwaukee in the East. That's the NBA's worst nightmare for the smallest markets in the league. Let's get to the ECF first, and Milwaukee dominant in the first game. Dame and Giannis with some incredible stats here, and Buddy Hield had a 30-point game as well. But Cleveland avoids going down 2-0 at home. 35-point performance from Mitchell gets it done. Garland only had 23 here, but that's because he fouled out early. Game 3 in Milwaukee is a close one. Lillard can't get it to go. Cleveland with a chance to tie. Darius Garland drives around Lillard, dunks it down over Butler. And that is his 54th point. But Lillard from deep breaks the tie with 3 seconds to go. Can they get the final shot to Garland? He takes it, but he can't hit. And Lillard takes the series lead with a game winner. I think these are very clearly the two best teams in basketball, just trading body blows. Garland with 54 tonight can't get the victory. Another close game in Game 4. Cavs down 3. Garland equalizes. What a special talent he is. In 20 seconds remaining, he can take the lead. He gets fouled. And he does just that at the free throw line. 2-point game. Who else would you want with the ball in their hands with the game on the line? Who else but Damian Lillard? He sends it to overtime. And this is already shaping up to be an all-time classic Eastern Conference final. Here's Buddy Hield, left wide open. So many weapons on this Bucks team, it's impossible to keep track of them all. Butler makes it 3. Calmly knocks down the contested midi. Horford wants Garland. He takes it. Can't tie the game. And that will be it as the Bucks go up 3-1. And all of a sudden, the Cavs are on the brink of elimination again after having the best record in the league. Dame and Giannis were dominant. Darius Garland was as well. The Cavs get a beacon of help, though, as Jarrett Allen, who went down earlier, is now back and healthy. And the Cavs avoid elimination in Game 5. 43 from Garland, triple-double from Mitchell. And that brings us to Game 6. What else could possibly be in store for us? Donovan Mitchell wants to force 7. He has the Cavs in the lead. Lillard keeping the Bucks in it with a 3. Under a minute to go. Cavs up 3. Mitchell, pull-up jumper on the baseline. 3-point game again. Mitchell harassed and he lost the ball. Damian Lillard comes up with the steal. Buddy Hield inside to Giannis for the dunk. They go for the 2. Now they need a 3. Dame Lillard. No good. Under 10 seconds to go. They foul Isaac Okoro. He hits the first, misses the second. All the Cavs need to do is not foul. Lillard to Butler. Long heave. He's fouled. Oh my goodness. Max Strus fouls the shooter. And Jimmy Butler has his prayer answered. Jimmy G buckets, y'all. Fouled on his shooting hand. How in the world did he get this to go? But you can't do that if you're Max Strus. If the Bucks win this one, this might go down as one of the most unfortunate plays of all time. But he still needs the free throw, and he's got that. But the Cavs can advance the ball with a timeout, and they have plenty of time to get a shot off. Okoro inbounds. Garland, long 3, no good, it almost went. But that's not the shot you want. They needed a 2-pointer. Some head-scratching decisions made by Cleveland down the stretch. But there's a pretty lob from Mitchell to Jarrett Allen. Lillard receives the handoff. Behind the back, dishes to Giannis. That was a beauty. Such a pleasure to see these two play together. Garland continues the onslaught. Cavs up by 1 with 30 seconds to go. Garland! Again! What a game. Now Lillard loses the ball. The Bucks needed a basket. They did not get it. And that is the end. But not of the series. The Cavs earn Game 7 on their home floor. That is an instant classic. Probably the craziest ending I've ever seen in a CPU game on 2K. At least the ending to regulation was. But this finals berth is still anyone's for the taking. Who wants it more? Mitchell gets the scoring started in Game 7 with a beautiful 3. Buddy Hield answers him. So good to see him playing in high-level games, making Bulls fans proud. It's still close to begin the second half. Mitchell and Garland getting the lion's share for the Cavs. Lillard and Hield leading the Bucks in scoring. 66-64. Cleveland in the lead. Mitchell goes right at Antetokounmpo and gets the basket to go. AJ Green getting physical. He's had a nice season for the Bucks. And he's really filled in for the injured Duncan Robinson. He gets another 3 to go there, tying the game. Third quarter coming to a close. Giannis crossing over, going left, off the glass and in. What a beautiful move, showing the guard skills. Mitchell floats it in, takes the lead right back. This series has been absolute cinema. Giannis, powerful throwdown. Beginning of the fourth now, Allen missed a layup and hurt his hand going back up for the rebound. And he has to exit this game. And Cleveland will be without him once again. Garland, high arcing triple. Back and forth we go. Butler on the cut. Zooms right past Garland there. Garland, unconscious from three-point land. Ties the game back up. 100 apiece. Pick and roll. Jimmy to Giannis, hanging on the rim. So hard to stop. Still no idea who's going to win this thing. Garland might do it all by himself. Here's Buddy Hield. His 3 is good. And the Bucks now sending doubles at Garland. Max Strus has to shoot it. It's good. Under 4 minutes to play. Giannis, the spin move, and the floater off the glass. Run and dunk man who? He's heard the haters. Hield with another 3. And the Bucks are up by 2 possessions. Lillard, no. Giannis, yes. And they're building a little bit of a lead now. Giannis drives on Horford and puts him in the rim. And that would be the finishing blow. Butler fades away for the cherry on top. And the Milwaukee Bucks survive a grueling 7-game series against the best team from the regular season. And they head to the finals. Just 1 year after missing the playoffs. What a story. They couldn't beat Jimmy Butler, so they just decided to acquire him in a trade. And now, Giannis will go for ring number 2, and Damian Lillard finally gets a taste of the finals. Giannis had one of the best second halves in playoff history, to be honest. 32 points in that half, 15 of 20 shooting. That includes overtime, but he just made play after play. And Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell did not go out quietly. They combined for 79. Just an all-time great scoring backcourt. An all-time great offense. And if they had just a few more things go their way in this series, they'd probably be in the finals. But who will they face? Spurs Grizzlies in the Western Conference Final. And San Antonio just keeps winning, pulling out Game 1 on the road to steal home court advantage. But Memphis handles business in Game 2, dropping 141. Game 3 is tied with about a minute to go. Wemby catches it down low and gives his team the lead. Now, can Marcus Smart do it again? No, he can't. And the Spurs retake the series lead. And keep in mind, they're doing this to a team who made the finals last year. They're more than a Cinderella story. This is one of the best teams in basketball, getting hot at the right time. And Memphis ties it at 2 apiece in Game 4 with 96 points combined from Morant, Jackson, and Bane. Game 5 is a 19-point Spurs road win. And they are now 1 game away from the finals. I can't believe this. The Spurs put up the greatest offensive performance in NBA playoff history in a series-clinching Game 6. 31 three-pointers. No one has ever made more than 29. That's regular season or playoffs. And they do it on 45 attempts. That's just insane. I don't know if I've ever seen a sim result this crazy, and I've seen some crazy ones. I mean, every single player that got on the court for the Spurs scored at least 10 points, and that's 9 players. Anyway, the Spurs definitely earned their spot in these finals, and it will be a sophomore Victor Wembanyama going up against Giannis and the Bucks. Oh yeah, and the Spurs also traded for Chris Middleton, so he will be playing against his former team. But here we are in the finals. On paper, the Spurs are completely outmatched, but anything can happen in 2K. Wemby dunks it all over Giannis. He's not shying away from the moment, and what do you know? And one Wembanyama, Spurs up by 9 in the fourth. Bobby Portis comes out of nowhere. He is incensed. He felt that Wemby initiated the contact. He's not even facing the ref. Who are you talking to, my guy? Bobby Portis has given us endless meme content. I love that guy. Anyway, the Spurs continue to win game ones. They win this one by 10 in Milwaukee, and they continue to make a statement that they belong here. Wemby puts up 41 in his finals debut. Game 2 getting underway. Zachary Rizachet, nice snatchback move on Giannis, shook him out his shoes. Close game, 7 minutes to go. Wemby blocks Giannis. There is no one else on this planet who is defending him like he just did. But Damian Lillard takes the lead with a jumper. Keldon Johnson takes it right back. And all the talk about Wemby, don't forget about Keldon. He's been sensational. Buddy Hield with a nice cut to the rim for the layup. Wemby with a delivery down low to Johnson. Closing in on a minute. And Buddy Hield with the fadeaway jumper. Time running out on these Spurs. Wemby hits a jumper. Then they make the decision to foul Damian Lillard, who hits both. Down 4 now. Keldon for 3. But I did not like that choice to foul one of the best free throw shooters. The shot clock was still on. Now a 3 to tie. It's off from Rizachet. That's the game. The Spurs were this close to going up 2-0 on the super team Bucks. Lillard, Antetokounmpo, and Hield scored over 80% of their team's points in this one. This team is talented but very top-heavy. And imagine, they didn't even have Buddy Hield until mid-season. In Game 3, the Bucks defense clamps down on Wemby and the Spurs, holding them to just 75. And it was Jimmy Butler's turn to shine offensively. Game 4 is a mirror image of Game 3 with the opposite result. The Bucks were the ones to run ice cold tonight in a 95-76 grinder. This ties the series. And we have another Game 5 where the series is tied 2-2. Milwaukee gets up 7-0 early. Make that 10-0 with a Buddy Hield corner triple. And they never look back. Milwaukee has their most dominant win in quite a while. And their Big Four was absolutely stellar. And that puts them at 1 game away from a title. Can the Spurs force a Game 7 though? We've seen a lot of those in this postseason. Wemby with a drop step dunk in the first quarter. Hield answers with a 3. He's had one of the greatest three-point shooting seasons ever. And the Spurs are up 5. Going into the second half, Keldon Johnson, Damian Lillard leading both teams in scoring. Now it's tied early in the third. Wemby pokes it free from Giannis, absolutely hounding him, contesting the jumper. Great defense. Tough interior finish from Jimmy Butler. He's being guarded by the guy he replaced in Chris Middleton. Buddy Hield with another 3. And he's playing through an injury at this point. Chris Middleton steps back and drains the triple. Now he gets it stolen away by Butler. What a matchup that is. Butler bullying inside, finishing down low. Under half a minute in the third. Giannis, head of steam, dunks it right on top of Wembanyama. Wemby finishes on the other end. And this game is staying close all the way through. Three-pointer, Damian Lillard. Tied back up again. AJ Green with a reverse slam. Now Bucks up by 5. Under 5 to go. Keldon for 3. Nothing but nets. Jimmy Butler to the rack. Trey Jones, the starting point guard, fouls out for the Spurs. AJ Green laces one from the corner. And the Bucks are pulling away. Middleton hits a mid-range jumper, 4-point game under a minute. Lillard, 3-ball, dagger! What time is it? It's Dame time, and it's time to celebrate if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, as they secure their second championship of the 2020s. Giannis gets ring number 2. Dame and Jimmy get ring number 1. Lucas wins the championship in his first year as head coach. They give the finals MVP to Damian Lillard. Or did they? I have no idea what 2K is on. I've never seen this problem before, but you can't edit finals MVPs, and apparently 2K changed its mind and gave it to Giannis instead, even though Dame got the trophy in the celebration. 2K literally just pulled a Steve Harvey Miss Universe on Damian Lillard. I'm sick. But yeah, if anyone knows why this happens and how I can avoid it, please let me know. Okay, it's not as if Giannis didn't have an incredible series himself. If you factor in defense, then yeah, maybe it should have been him, sure. But I think they would have given it to Lillard in real life, especially after a 31-point, 11-assist championship clinching game. Giannis only had 19 and 8 in this one. But major props to Keldon Johnson, Victor Wembanyama, and the Spurs. They really gave this team a run for their money. And if they were already good enough to make the finals with this roster, who knows how good they'll get in the future as Wemby develops and maybe they even bring in some other stars. But congratulations to the Bucks, and now we can finally shift our focus back to the Chicago Bulls and their offseason. And before we get into the real nitty-gritty of the offseason, I always like to take a quick look back at how our players performed. We were a rare team that did not have a 20-point per game scorer. That definitely stands out right off the bat, but that's because we traded Buddy Hield away mid-season. Outside of that, we had such a balanced scoring attack. 7 players averaged 10 points per game or more. Gary Trent Jr. really improved his percentages over the course of the season after his slow start. He ended up with 17.1 a game, 1.5 steals a game. Cole Anthony's efficiency issues were well documented throughout the course of this season, but he does end up shooting almost 42% and getting above 30% from three-point land as well. So we're hoping that he got out of his slump and that he can continue improving on those numbers next year, because the other stuff he brings to the table is really nice. It's really unfortunate that we weren't able to see a true breakout for Patrick Williams like I expected. He was just in and out of the lineup due to injury pretty much all season. But seeing his point per game number improve from 9 to almost 13 this year is a pleasant sight, considering all the adversity he faced. Hopefully next year can be a little smoother for him. I really enjoyed playing with Jaden McDaniels this year. I really like the signing because I like the mix of attributes he has and the playstyle that he has at the 6'9" frame. However, he really just did not simulate very well at all. He was not a good offensive player, shot 31% from 3. I'm hoping that it's only up from there. But even despite that, I'm willing to give him some more time. I love his defensive ability, even when he's not locked in on the offensive end. Donovan Clingan, robbed of all-rookie second team, started most of the games at center his rookie year, and it was definitely a mixed bag. He shot under 50%, which is not what you want to see, but the flashes, man, when he showed them, he showed them. Brandon Clark was an excellent backup center for us, shot 58%. I love what he added to our small ball lineups. I think ideally, though, you'd want at least one floor-stretching center option on this team, because neither Clark nor Clingan provide much of any of that. I think Kobe White was fantastic considering he came back from a pretty severe injury. Scored 13.5 off the bench for us, and that averaged out to well over 20 per 36 minutes. I love having him on this team as a spark plug, combo guard that can score in bunches but also can run the point guard pretty proficiently. Dalen Terry was another guy who struggled with efficiency throughout the year, but his numbers ended up looking really good by the end. I think he had a really good post-All-Star break stretch or something, which is nice to see because I want to continue believing that we can keep Dalen Terry around for the future. Jett Howard did not get better as the season progressed. I think he stayed pretty consistent, if not gotten a little bit worse, but he still showed a lot of scoring potential. Ayo Dosunmu, unfortunately, was a big disappointment. His efficiency dropped way off from last year. He shot over 45% from the field last year, and over 33% from three. It's unfortunate because he's a hometown kid and I love to keep him around, but you can't keep everyone around, so I think if we look to trade any of our young guards, it might be him. I think overall he might have more all-around skills than Coby White, but White's just a whole lot better on offense. Not a whole lot to say about Mark Mitchell. He did get some minutes for us at the end of our rotation, but he still didn't really have enough to make much of an impact. I like his skill set though, and if he continues to get minutes, I could see him doing a lot more next year. Grayson Allen, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Damian Jones were just roster fillers. They were kind of just there. But both of our two-way players had some pretty exciting moments, including that last game of the season where we were trying to lose, but both of them end up going off. Thankfully, we still lost to Detroit though. But Rokas and Greg Brown might have earned themselves a fully guaranteed contract, whether it's from us or another team. Moving on to player retirements, we already knew LeBron would retire after 22 years. Didn't go out without a fight in the playoffs, but he has now made his complete case for the greatest player of all time. The question is, do you think the case is good enough? Russell Westbrook also retired after playing his final season with the Nets. Brook Lopez, Gordon Hayward, Blake Griffin finally retires. So does Jay Crowder. LeBron and Westbrook, the only two out of that group to make the Hall of Fame. So no Blake Griffin. However, he does get his jersey retired by the LA Clippers. And it's finally happening. The league is adding two new teams, the Montreal Owls and the Vancouver Woodsmen. We'll see the expansion draft next episode. In other news, they're adding an extra roster spot to the Rising Stars Challenge. Outside of that, not much else other than the big expansion. Here is the new division alignment in the league. Vancouver is joining the Northwest Division, kicking the Thunder out. They'll be in the Southwest, which is where they belong. And then the Owls join the Eastern Conference's Atlantic Division, joining the neighboring Raptors. We finally made it to the draft lottery. I've been awaiting this moment for a long time. See that Spurs logo at number 4? That's us. As long as that pick is in the lottery, which it is, we will retain it. But with the two expansion teams being wedged in at number 5 and 6, falling in the lottery is going to be more punishing than it would be in a normal year, so hopefully that doesn't happen. We could be anywhere from number 1 through number 10. Let's see where we end up. Number 10 goes to Utah. That's the Timberwolves pick. We are now in range of being chosen. The 9th pick goes to the Clippers. The next pick is projected to go to Miami, who we successfully beat out in the odds race. Number 8 goes to the Chicago Bulls. That is sickening. Tanking is a dangerous game, guys. The Heat move into the top 4, even though we had higher odds than them. That's just how the cookie crumbles. They don't even need another star rookie, man. They got Cody Williams already. And Bronny. I kind of did it to myself, adding 2 expansion teams the same year that I'm trying to get a high draft pick. Thunder get number 7. They also had conditional rights to Miami's pick, but since that one's in the top 4, that means the Heat are definitely keeping it. But Montreal wins the coin toss for higher draft pick out of the expansion teams. Now into the top 4, Miami is not able to jump any higher than number 4. Pick number 3 goes to the Toronto Raptors, the team with the worst record. And that means the top 2 is between the Rockets pick via Brooklyn and the Thunder. Houston gets number 2. and that means the Thunder pick first. What a lottery, so many twists and turns. Such a bummer that we dropped from 4 to 8. The Raptors also got hosed. They were the most deserved of pick number 1. But the Rockets and Thunder are big winners. OKC hasn't been able to break out and compete like they have in real life. This will be a big buoy for them. And the Rockets are in an interesting spot because they just made the second round of the playoffs and they look like they're knocking right on the door. We'll see what they decide to do with pick number 2. And looking at the rest of the order, we have 3 first-round picks in total. We have 8, we have 22, which is from Atlanta, and then we have number 28 from Portland. A very quick overview of the coaching carousel. We retain our head coach. He's not going anywhere. But we sign a new shot doctor and big man coach to 4-year deals. And we also hire a nice stamina trainer with 5 stars in sports medicine. Doc Rivers returns to coaching, and he's going to take over the team he once played for, the Atlanta Hawks. Miami fired Erik Spoelstra mid-season for whatever reason, and they're going to be replacing him with Mike Budenholzer. And then Erik Spoelstra signed with Brooklyn towards the end of the season, and he is going to stay there for the foreseeable future. And I'm sorry about all these generic face scans. If it makes you upset at all, trust me, it makes me even more upset. I wish this wasn't a thing, but the coaches just keep disappearing. There's nothing you can do about it, except for a solution that I came up with after the fact, which is just to manually extend these coaches' contracts so they don't expire and the coaches don't disappear. But unfortunately, the damage is already done, which means we won't be able to see these coaches make the Hall of Fame, and we won't even be able to see their real faces anymore. The Raptors are looking for a new coach after an abysmal season with Darko Rajakovic, who they fired. Terry Stotts is going to take over. A really good offensive mind. Had some fun teams with the Blazers, and the Raptors are hoping that he can be the one to get them out of these doldrums. And despite the unceremonious firing, Quinn Snyder was one of the most sought-after coaches in the offseason, and the team that ends up winning out the sweepstakes for him is the Minnesota Timberwolves. So they go in a new direction after Chris Finch wasn't able to lead them anywhere. We'll see if Snyder can finally unlock the greatness in Anthony Edwards. Also, the Vancouver Woodsmen, defensive specialist Benjamin Walker, away from his assistant job with San Antonio, to be the Woodsmen's first coach in history. Also, if any of you 2K players recognize that face in that big man coach slot, yeah, that's exactly who you think it is. The Michael Stauffer GOAT arc begins in Vancouver. And then to continue on the theme of old head coaches making returns, Frank Vogel is going to be the new coach of the new Montreal Owls. Now a quick look at the draft combine, even though it really doesn't tell you anything. DJ Outlaw out of Kansas was the best shooter. Marcus Workman looks like an absolute wrecking ball. He got 22 bench press reps. The guy on top of him is just a fake player. Don't pay attention to him. Javon Boston has the combine's highest vertical, which only solidifies him as the number 1. He's tied though with Raekwon Lawson though, and behind him by a tad bit is Lamont Appling out of Georgia. And Appling looks like an absolute athletic freak. He had the fastest lane time and the fastest sprint time by a pretty wide margin. And we'll get into him more later because this is someone that I think we can get at 8 and someone I am really interested in taking. I also want to quickly shout out one of the more interesting names and builds in this draft. Scale Stinson at 5'11", 209 pounds. Yeah, the guys who made this draft class were cooking with this one. One of the best nicknames and also seems like the ultimate hustle point guard. Finished top 10 in the entire combine in bench press reps. Another draft crush of mine is Louisville's Cole Herringody. His stock rose more than just about anybody's throughout the course of the season, and we just had him in for a team workout to see what he's all about. And he ended up hitting more moving NBA threes than anyone else we invited. This is just an awesome shooter with a great release and point guard skills too. Not a complete liability on defense either. And as a cherry on top, he rarely gets injured, and he has the ability to play big minutes. This guy is all the way at the top of my draft board, in terms of realistically attainable players. If we wanted Andre Lorbeck, we'd probably have to trade up. But there are just so many quality guard prospects all the way down this draft class, and Lorbeck is definitely one of them. However, and I'm taking this with a grain of salt, he had a really bad workout with us, only 4 bench press reps. But what really stood out was his struggles from beyond the arc. Only hit 12 standing NBA threes. I think he's coming into the league a little bit more raw than Luka did, but he has the potential nonetheless. Damian Pack, the March Madness hero, was the fastest player in our workout group and also had a 40-inch vertical, just a dynamic athlete. And right now, 2K is mocking him to go way higher than 11. We'll get to the mock draft in a little bit. I may have found myself a hidden gem with Simon Cholinsky from Poland. Now, I'm still not entirely confident in the scouting information that I've received about him, but his potential is in the A's. If it truly is in the A's, that's kind of surprising to me because he doesn't seem like someone who would develop into a star. He does seem like someone who could develop into a solid player though, just a little bit one-dimensional. He's really just a stretch big. The draft is just around the corner, so here are some narratives going into it. And it's really encouraging seeing Cole Harengoty's name on here. It calls him the biggest riser in the entire draft, and also he hasn't missed a game since 4th grade, so one of the most durable players of all time. We might be looking at another John Stockton. Javon Boston, the number 1 prospect, has drawn comparisons to Paul George and Klay Thompson. Man, we'll see if he becomes as good of a shooter as Klay, but a combination between PG and Klay would be absolutely lethal. And then Branko Todorovic, who's mocked towards the end of the first round, has a really unique combination of size and ball handling ability, but scouts say his potential might be closer to Bruno Caboclo than Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't really know what to make of him because he clearly has some holes in his game, and I have some conflicting information about his potential. And I'm going to cap this episode off with my draft board. This is a little bit of a sneak peek into my draft strategy. I have it organized into trade-up options that we can realistically get at the pick we currently have, and then some sleepers towards the back end. Now, I'm salty about not getting the number 1 pick. I had a feeling that I was going to get number 1, but we did not. So Javon Boston is on my board as a potential trade-up option. I don't think the Thunder are giving that pick up, though. Now, the Rockets at number 2, that's another story. Next episode, you'll be able to see how that all shakes out. Behind him, I have Andre Lorbeck, who looks like a gifted playmaker and someone who could be a high-level offensive engine. Those are really the only 2 players that I'm interested in trading up from number 8 for. And really, I don't even know if Lorbeck is worth that. But as I've told you before, I'm really interested in Cole Harengoty, and I have him at my number 3. Now, some mock drafts have him going just ahead of 8. Some drafts have him going at 8. I think it's kind of a toss-up whether we're going to get him or not. So I like Harengoty mostly because he's a well-rounded player that can shoot. On the other hand, I really like Lamont Appling because he has some incredible strengths, but also potentially some weaker weaknesses. Appling is a gifted athlete and a gifted finisher, but what really makes him a great prospect in my opinion is that A- perimeter defense. He has the athleticism and motor to be a lockdown defender. However, the three-point shooting is concerning because right now, at this current state, the Bulls need all the shooting they can get. Plus, Appling is a combo guard that struggles with passing. C+ playmaking for a player like him is not ideal at all. I think Appling is a little bit more boom or bust, which is why I place him 1 behind Harengoty, but still very much a realistic target for us. So we're going to have picks 8, 22, and 28 in the upcoming first round. So we're most likely not going to get a chance to get most of the mid-round guys unless we make some trades. But I'm just going to very quickly go over the rest of my draft board. It's got guys like Marcus Workman, who I really like as a connector piece. Almost looks like a carbon copy of Draymond Green, which excites me. Donovan Clingan's our center of the future, hopefully, but I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in another young center that we can take a little longer to develop. Mace Gadzarich is one of those guys that I would be interested in. I love the idea of having a ball movement-based offense And both Workman and Godzurich are big men who can really pass the ball. EJ Clarkson has a little bit of passing ability as well. He's the Purdue big man that was super highly touted before he tore his ACL. Obviously, the injury is concerning, but his skill set is undeniably versatile and really intriguing. Those three big men, and maybe I'd also throw in Gianni Giddens into that pool as well. But those four guys are big men that I would be interested in trading into the middle part of the first round for, maybe trading up from 22. The rest of the guys are players that I would be interested in taking at 28. Guys like Aaron Larson, Levi Ryan, Isaiah Quinn, and Simon Chalinsky, who we brought in for that workout. I don't know if any of those guys are going to fall to 28. Aaron Larson probably won't. But if we're able to get any of those guys, I think they'll be value picks. And then lastly, I have some sleepers that I could potentially take in the second round. Bailey Sampson, Justin Medina, Icot Lucas, the 7'7" center from Greece. He's being mocked way lower than I would have expected, near the bottom of the second round, or at least the middle of it. If he's available at our pick in the second, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to resist the Cyclops. I also wanted to look at some of the notable potential grades from these players. And of course, you got to take these with a grain of salt. The game gives you two conflicting grades. But I was just saying how much I like Lamont Appling as a prospect. His potential is C+. That is shocking to me considering the archetype of player he is and how athletic he is. That just doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm not sure I buy the C+. If he really is a C+, that'll obviously be a bit disappointing, but I don't know if that'll even really deter me from selecting him, because potential is malleable more than it used to be in 2K with the boom and bust system, which adds an element of randomness or unpredictability, so to say, with player development in 2K. Lamont Appling takes a lot of shots. He has a very high shot tendency, so for all we know, he could actually start at a C+ potential, but then rack up a bunch of stats in his rookie year and then boost that rating by a considerable amount. I think this is one of the best additions that 2K has added to their franchise mode in the recent past, and it really changes how I think about scouting in a good way. I now pay attention less to the potential rating and more to the actual play style of a player or traits that I'm looking for in a player. But even still, it's hard not to be affected by it just a little bit. I was talking earlier about how the game gives you two conflicting potential ratings, but what really concerns me about Appling is that those two ratings are the same, and they're both C+. His player card shows a C+ potential as well, and I think this is part of why I'm ranking him below Cole Herringody. He's also not mocked very high in the draft. Even though he's number 6 on the slideshow, he's actually mocked in the late teens, early 20s. I think this is because of the slight randomization that 2K gives to every draft class. Even if you turn storylines off, the player ratings will still change ever so slightly every time you upload the same class. But the weird thing is that our scouts have him as a 75 overall, which is actually really good for a rookie, especially in the late first round. So I guess Draft Express thinks he's way worse than he was intended to be, but our scouts like him as a high floor, low ceiling player? Again, that really just doesn't make sense given the A+ athleticism, A+ inside scoring. He should have a high potential. Anyway, you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about Lamont Appling by now. Really, I'm spending so much time on him because, honestly, I'm preparing for the scenario where Cole Herringody gets taken before us and we have to settle for Appling. Right now, in that scenario where our number 1 guy gets taken, Appling is still the guy I'd take. But if any of you are still watching at this point, I would really love some advice in the comments section. Please let me know which prospects you like. And if you have any inside tips on how to read this jumbled mess of information that 2K gives you about draft prospects, feel free to drop that too. Unlike Appling, there's quite a few other players who have potential way higher than their draft projection would suggest. Tyrone Marsh, the Kentucky point guard who got injured before playing a single game for the Wildcats, he has an A- potential. Brian Vaughn, the Arizona player who got kicked out for bad grades, he has an A-. Levi Ryan, the shooting specialist from Tennessee, has an A-. Even Ryan's teammate Josiah Imhoff has an A-, and he's not even listed in the top 30 on the slideshow. And Simon Chelinski, the Polish one-dimensional stretch big man, has an A- potential. Jalen Shepard, a versatile wing from Kansas State, has an A-. We could consider getting him in the second round. I really don't know what to do. These conflicting ratings confuse me. I feel like I've 100% scouted so many players, and yet I still know basically nothing about them, even though there's 100% next to their name. But anyway, I hope you guys can see how stoked I am for this draft. This could be a potential turning point for our franchise. We have 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. We could stay put and take 5 players, we could trade up, and we could even defer some of these picks to next season or even beyond. The options are endless, and to be honest, they're kind of overwhelming. But I have been working on this project for a really long time. I've put a lot of effort into making these storylines for these fake players immersive and memorable and giving these players personality. That's what I seek in my franchise experiences, and I hope that I'm giving that to you all. I feel like over the course of this season, I've gotten to know all of these prospects very well, and I'm really looking forward to seeing their careers play out in this franchise. And this is only draft class number 1. There are so many interesting storylines to come, as long as I keep this franchise going. But chapter 1 of that begins in the next episode. Thank you again to the amazing creators who made this possible from Operation Sports. You guys make 2K so much more fun. And to anyone watching, thank you so much for making it all the way through this long season recap and off-season preview video. This is a really cool moment for me because this is going to be my 25th upload. Starting this channel has been really fun for me, and it's honestly helped me out a lot. It's given me something fun to do, and it's also really helped me as a speaker. I'm currently going to college to go into sports broadcasting, or at least something sports journalism related. And I've been using this channel to get more comfortable speaking to an audience. And I'm honestly very grateful to even have any audience at all. I'm still a very small channel. I only have a few regular commenters. Iggy Frail, Odd Thomas, if either of you are watching right now, thank you for your continued engagement. And of course, thank you to my mom and girlfriend for always supporting. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to make these videos to entertain not only myself, but other people as well. I honestly was not expecting to gain the 170 odd subscribers that I have right now. Hopefully that number keeps growing though. But your support means a lot to me. This video has now gotten way longer than I intended it to be originally. That usually happens. These videos are getting way too long. I need to do something about that. But next episode hopefully won't be too long, as we have the big draft, we have free agency, and then we can just move right on to year number 3. We also have the expansion draft for the Woodsmen and the Owls, but I don't think I'll spend too much time on that, as neither of those teams are the Chicago Bulls. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe. Turn notifications on if you want. Recommend me to a friend. Any or all of those would be really helpful to me. I hope you guys are as excited about this upcoming draft as I am. I'll see you guys in the next one when we finally do it.